Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a brand new Shadow Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Shadow EMPOLEON. As of midnight local time, a ton of new Shadow Pokemon have released into Pokemon Go, and one that I was very excited for is the Shadow EMPOLEON. EMPOLEON at times often felt a bit underwhelming. It has a terrific typing, but it didn't quite do enough damage. And with the Shadow, it now has a big damage output without losing a lot of bulk. I'm going to test it out in some battles in the new Hisui Cup to see how it performs. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Shadow EMPOLEON in action. Hopping to the first match, picking up a pretty tough lead Gliscor into Drifblim. I have two really good answers to Drifblim in the back, so I save switch into Hisui and Samurott. My opponent stays in here, and they opt to go for an Icy Wind or a Mystical Fire. It's the Mystical Fire that will get a guaranteed attack drop. In comes Gastrodon. I'm very happy to bait out the Gastrodon, as that way I do not have to deal with it with the Shadow EMPOLEON in the back. I'm able to get a debuff with the Icy Wind. Opponent firing off energy here. They go for the Body Slam. I thought I could throw one extra Snarl and make the Dark Pulse, but I'm unable to do so. I guess that's one of the cons of battling at 1:30 in the morning, but hey, the rocket event started at midnight, so I went out, did a whole lot of grunts, and was able to get this Shadow EMPOLEON. Now, it is pretty attack weighted, but looking at the sims, it looks like Shadow EMPOLEON does actually prefer an attack weight. EMPOLEON in the Great League can't really take a hit anyway, so kind of just going full throttle and maxing out the attack ends up working out really nicely. If my opponent sends in the Drifblim, I have so much energy here. I try and throw one wing attack in the move. Unfortunately, the game forces an overtap, so it's not necessarily the greatest charge attack timing. I'm firing off yet another Night Slash. The energy advantage here on the Gliscor, I'm just able to apply so much pressure onto the Drifblim, and now it's time. The moment we've been waiting for. In comes Shadow EMPOLEON, and as you can see, these Shadow Waterfalls are no joke. They do a ton of damage. Mystical Fire does get shielded and get the debuff. In the back, it's Toxicroak. Keep in mind, this is a debuffed Drill Peck, but Shadow EMPOLEON does not care, getting the KO onto Toxicroak and farming down Drifblim to take the win. Same leads, different match. Gliscor into the Drifblim. I save switch into Hisui and Samurott. My opponent responds with Bastiodon. This is definitely unfortunate for me. Even though Hisui and Samurott does have the water subtyping, I'm not running any water charge attacks. The only water charge attack that it learns is Razor Shell, which is a pretty terrible move. So for the opponent, this works out nicely, as Bastiodon does very well at shutting down Hisui and Samurott. Bastiodon fires off the Stone Edge that is going to pick up the knockout, but this is now an opportunity. I can send in the Shadow EMPOLEON. Shadow EMPOLEON getting a massive energy head start. Let's see what my opponent has in the back. And whatever they have in back does not want to see an EMPOLEON with energy as they send in the Drifblim. The Hydro Cannon does get shielded. So you can see Shadow EMPOLEON can basically force a shield from anything in this format. Opponent is going to successfully bait with the Icy Wind and grab a shield from me. I'm firing off another Hydro Cannon. Even debuffed, this is going to do so much damage. Opponent is going to commit the shield. This is risky. I decide to call the Icy Wind. And it is the Icy Wind. That's a big call. In the back, it's Bibarel. I'm able to bank a Hydro Cannon for later and send in the Gliscor. And I should be in a winning position. I still have the shield, so I can shield up the Surf. I can make it to the Earthquake. Bibarel, definitely not known for its bulk, so that should be able to pick up the knockout. And my opponent just doesn't have any way to get rid of the EMPOLEON, as EMPOLEON does win CMP over Drifblim. They send in the Drifblim. They realize they have to farm up quite a bit of energy, and I'm able to make it to a Night Slash and take the game. We see an amazing lead in the next match. Gliscor into Toxicroak. Opponent save switches into Shadow Gliscor. In comes Shadow EMPOLEON. And look at the waterfalls. They do not make it to enough for an Earthquake, so I can no shield. It is just the Aerial Ace. And the fast move pressure that this Pokemon provides is just absolutely insane. And the thing is, they're going to have to shield this Toxicroak, because this Toxicroak will get absolutely shredded by the Drill Peck. Opponent lets it through. That nearly one-hit KOs the Toxicroak. In the back, it's another Bibarel. I'm going to send in the Samurott. At this point, the opponent knows that they're just getting Icy Winded a billion times over, and they resign the match. Moving into the next match, leading Gliscor into a non-Shadow Magnezone. So obviously a very positive lead for me, but considering that Gliscor takes forever to get to Earthquake, this lead not as comfortable for Gliscor as one might think, as Mirror Shot does quite a lot of damage even though neither one of us is Shadow. They go for the Mirror Shot. That does very solid damage and gets the attack drop as well. It's gonna hurt, but I think I have to save switch out of here. Hisuian Samurott is typically the save switch on this team, but oh my goodness, look at the damage from those Volt switches. Hisuian Samurott, not tanky at all. They go for the mirror shot, and they do not get the debuff this time. This is very nice. They have to shield, or the Dark Pulse is going to knock out. They let it through. They're going to send in Sneasler. Sneasler, a very cool pick. I'm firing off the Icy Wind as soon as I get it. This charge attack is thrown on alignment, but I just wanted to get the damage, as I know that's going to hit incredibly hard. Very nice counting by my opponent as they fire off the energy one turn before I make the Icy Wind. They have the back-to-back. I know Gliscor is going to lose charge attack priority, so I am just going to go for the extra. Let's see what my opponent has in the back, and they have their own Drifblim here. So we've had a lot of opponents running Drifblim so far, and the nice thing is Gliscor up energy can put in a lot of work. I'm firing off Night Slash after Night Slash. I get the shield and I get the boost. The boost didn't end up mattering because my opponent would have to throw here anyway to prevent a third Night Slash. But watch this. Can they make it to a Shadow Ball? No, they cannot. The Shadow Empoleon just does way too much damage. In comes the Sneasler, but they have no shields left. They also don't really have a lot of HP, so that Drill Peck is massive overkill. But Shadow Empoleon, again, in these sets, in the Hisui Cup, it just puts in so much work. Speaking of Empoleon, we see it on the lead in the next match, as I lead Gliscor into an opposing Empoleon. Definitely not the lead I'm hoping for, so I save switch into the Samurott, fire off the Dark Pulse. Opponent is going to no shield. They're firing off the Drill Peck. Drill Peck, I would be able to survive, but if they're staying in, I'm hoping that my Samurott will have value. Opponent choosing to send in a Shadow Gallade. That is not a good response to a Hisuian Samurott, as long as Samurott has shields, and I do have shields. I'm farming up and firing off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind, of course, will come with that guaranteed attack drop. Opponent commits the shield. I throw yet another Snarl, and I'm firing off yet another Icy Wind. The Icy Wind connects. Can they make it to a move? No, they cannot. I get the Snarl farm down. I exit with energy, and they did not get a lot of value out of the Gallade. Back in comes the Empoleon. I'm farming up, and I just cannot get the farm down. I'm forced to fire off the Icy Wind, but I should be in a pretty decent position here, as I have the Gliscor Empoleon core, but I make a massive misplay. I send in the Empoleon. I should have instantly pivoted into the Gliscor. That's what I was meaning to do, but the Empoleon with no shields remaining is going to get knocked out, and I think I'm in trouble here. I'm firing off the Night Slash. The Night Slash is going to be shielded by the Drifblim. I do not get the boost, and they're firing off the Icy Wind. This is double super effective damage, but I'm the non-Shadow Gliscor, so I withstand the damage, and I make the Night Slash. Is this going to be enough to KO? I need it to KO. It does not. They survive on 1 HP, and they're going to take the win. If I instantly pivoted into the Gliscor there, I was in a winning position, but unfortunately, I mistakenly send in the Empoleon, and that's game over. We see mirror leads in the next match, Gliscor into Gliscor. I save switch into Hisuian Samurott. My opponent is going to respond with their own Empoleon. This is perfectly fine. Dark Pulse does so much damage onto Empoleon. I'm going to be shielding up the Drill Peck, look to overfarm quite a bit, and then if I can't get the farm down, I'll just go for the Icy Wind on charge attack priority. So I farm up here. I cannot get the farm down, so I'm going to fire off the Icy Wind. The opponent is very low. They elect to let this through. What do they have in the back now? They have seen the full moveset, so they're unlikely to send in the Gliscor. They send in Bastiodon, so the remainder of their team is incredibly weak to my Shadow Empoleon. Switch clocks up. In comes the Shadow Empoleon, and look at the Shadow Waterfalls go. Again, this Pokemon does not have a lot of bulk to begin with, so running the Shadow, it doesn't really feel like you're giving up much of anything in exchange for a dramatic increase in attack. The Flamethrower lands, but I'm still going to be able to get this full farm down, leave with energy. Wing Attack, not going to be doing a lot to the Empoleon due to the Steel subtyping resisting it. I fire off the Hydro Cannon, I get the shield, I get another Shadow Waterfall, and with that amount of HP taken from the opponent, this should just be a win for me. I can send in the Gliscor, and I no-shield everything just in case they get the boost. Night Slash is going to connect, and of course they do get the boost. No, I'm still going to no-shield. I'm worried about a second boost. They do not get the second boost, and from here, I can just double up on Night Slashes and win the game. So even with a boost in the end game, this team, it just put in so much work for me, and this is me playing at like 1:30 to 2 a.m. So I am definitely not playing at my most awake, and the team's getting wins, and I'm just so impressed with Shadow Empoleon. Amazing lead in the next match. Opponent is going to save switch from the Gastrodon into a Shadow Gallade, so the opponent is extremely weak to my Gliscor. The Night Slash is going to be shielded up. I'm now going to send in Samurott, and Samurott is going to have to shield. Shadow Leaf Blade is no joke. But now I can throw one Snarl, go for the Icy Wind, and put quite a bit of pressure onto this Gallade. Gallade deciding to let this go. They're going to send in Bastiodon, seeing a lot of Bastiodon, and honestly, it keeps getting aligned onto the Samurott, which is definitely the weakest of the three Pokemon against the Bastiodon. But either way, I should still be in a pretty nice position there. Messing up my words a little bit, as again, it is like 2:20 a.m. as I am recording this, so it is very, very late at night, or I guess early in the morning, depending on how you see it. And now they send back in the Gastrodon when they see the Empoleon, and I can immediately respond with the Gliscor. One of the very nice things about Gliscor, not only is it very good at shutting down the counter users in the meta, but it's so good at destroying Gastrodon. I fire off the Night Slash bait, I get the shield, I just cannot make the Earthquake, but to me, this is worth shielding. If I can just get rid of the Gastrodon, and I'm going for the Earthquake as soon as I get there, I should be in a winning position. Bastiodon is going to be able to farm down, but Flamethrower, even against a Shadow Empoleon, like, you would think, you're a Shadow Empoleon, surely Flamethrower two-shots you, right? It does not. Empoleon able to withstand both flamethrowers here, no problem, and take the win. So even though you are glassier than normal, honestly, it didn't really feel much different than running a regular Empoleon, but just with an absolutely crazy attack stat. Moving into the next match, leading the Gliscor into Cresselia. Not a bad matchup. I'm firing off the Night Slash. Night Slash is going to connect. They're firing off energy. I decide that I do want to check and see if they have a counter user in the back, so I'm looking to save switch into the Hisuian Samurott. Unfortunately, I do get the one-turn switch there. My opponent firing off energy. I'm a Samurott, I have to shield, but I can look to go for Icy Winds to debuff them. Opponent sends in another Bastiodon. At this point, I've just been seeing Bastiodons left and right. I go for the Icy Wind. I wasn't really expecting a shield, but I just wanted to lower their damage output. I'm firing off the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse will hit for some okay damage onto the Bastiodon. Bastiodon still not even in the yellow health. Oh my goodness. They are going for the Stone Edge. Stone Edge is going to connect. Can I make it to a last second Dark Pulse? Yes, I can. So honestly, I feel like the Icy Wind play ended up working out okay, as I do get some nice damage onto the Basti. I get to send in the Shadow Empoleon, get a full farm down. Is the opponent going to send in the Crest, or do we see the final Pokemon? We see their final Pokemon, which is their own Empoleon. I do have an energy advantage, but I'm down a shield. So this is looking tough. My opponent is farming up. I'm going for the Hydro. They make a very nice catch onto Cresselia, and I think that probably just means that I lose, unfortunately. My opponent is going to send in the Empoleon. They have perfect awareness as to where my energy's at. I can't afford to shield here. I have to let this go and try and win the game with Gliscor. I'm going to send in the Gliscor, look to throw 4, and unfortunately, we get a frame drop that forces an overtap, so I end up throwing on 5. I still think I lose regardless, but definitely unfortunate to see that frame drop in that crucial moment. Hopping into the final match, leading Gliscor into a Magnezone, but this time it is the Shadow. So again, not the most comfortable matchup for the Gliscor, despite the fact that you have a massive typing advantage, because it just takes forever to get to the Earthquake. So I decide I'll just go for the Night Slash. They know they can safely no-shield it, but I'm kind of okay with that, because I just want damage on this thing. I'm firing off the Night Slash into the Shadow Magnezone. Magnezone commits the shield. I send in the Shadow Empoleon. Opponent gets too greedy farming. The Shadow Waterfalls catch them off guard. And I don't know what they had in the back because they resigned the match. All in all, I think Shadow Empoleon is a massive upgrade over the regular, and especially in Great League formats. Taking a look at the 0 shield, the 1 shield, and the 2 shield compared to the regular, you pick up a ton of matchups in all of those scenarios. I believe it's something like 6 or 7 meta wins flip in the 2 shield, so there is a definite really nice adjustment when running the Shadow compared to the regular. I still don't think that this makes this like meta in the Open Great League. It's still going to be a limited Cupmon, but it's a dramatically improved limited Cupmon, especially with the Hisui Cup here for 2 weeks. make sure to do those water grunts. It is the female water grunt that you need to do to get one of these Shadow Empoleons, because this thing is amazing. I went 7-2 with it at Leaderboard Elo. I'm currently sitting on a 4-0 at, I believe, 31, 30 something. So if I do get the 5-0, then that's breaking 3,200, and that's deep onto the global leaderboards. So Shadow Empoleon is an absolute beast, and this team is pretty incredible as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.